If you've been on the internet for quite some time, there's a good chance that you've seen this video of a wrestler and a reporter asking questions, and the wrestler has to answer on a beat. Even if you haven't seen this one, there's a good chance that you've seen the many meme formats that have spawned from it. In fact, it's so famous that it even has its own section on knowyourmeme.com. And yet, almost nobody knows about this game today. In fact, it's so obscure that the most popular videos of this game on YouTube are over 4 years old, at least as of me recording this. So what is this game? And why is it so much more irrelevant than it used to be? Well, stick around, and maybe you'll learn something new about this game that you've never heard of. Okay, so what even is this game? To answer that question, we're going to have to go way back. The year is August of 2006, and Nintendo is working hard on their newest console to release in just a few months. While they were doing this though, they decided that they wanted to make a game for the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, despite the fact that the Nintendo DS was released almost 3 years after the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo wanted to create something for their older handheld. They decided to release a rhythm game, which is a very unconventional choice for Nintendo. They usually make RPGs or platformers, but they wanted to dabble in the rhythm game genre. Pretty odd. Anyway, this rhythm game was very different from other games. Instead of the usual hit buttons in time with the music to rack up combos and win the game, this game instead relies more on audio and visual cues to perfectly time specific inputs. Needless to say, this game is a lot easier than many other rhythm games, even by today's standards. This game is also very unique because it doesn't just use a single game. That might sound weird, but bear with me for a second. Instead of using a single concept in a rhythm game, this game uses different games with different controls and timings. At the end of each set of games, there's a remix, which is a separate song that uses every game in the set. It switches between them at specific times, so you'll have to be ready for each swap. These remixes can actually be pretty tricky, especially with faster songs. This game was the start of an entire series called Rhythm Heaven. The game that I've been talking about is called Rhythm Tengoku, the name of the series in Japan. The weird thing about this game is that it was only released in Japan. The first game in the series was, ironically, a game that people in other regions of the world couldn't experience. Despite this, you can still find a ROM for the game online. Dedicated fans of this game created a version of Rhythm Tengoku with English text. This is the version that you all have been watching on your screen. It's honestly pretty incredible that fans have created something like this. I highly recommend checking out this ROM hack if you want to try this game. Now fast forward to April of 2009, and Nintendo is releasing another Rhythm Heaven game, this time for the Nintendo DS. The formula is still the same as in the Japanese version, a variety of minigames in sets with a remix at the end. Unlike Rhythm Tengoku, however, this game uses touch controls, an approach that was controversial with fans of this game. Some people loved it, but some people hated it. One thing was for sure is that people loved the idea of this game. A game with minigames, easy controls, and fun music naturally appealed to people. And of course, with the success of this game, Nintendo decided to make a sequel. This leads me to the topic of today's video, Rhythm Heaven Fever, the third game in the Rhythm Heaven series. As I mentioned just a second ago, Rhythm Heaven Fever is the third game in the Rhythm Heaven series released for the Nintendo Wii in 2011. Similar to the other Rhythm Heaven games, there are multiple different games in a set, followed immediately by a remix. These remixes start out pretty easy, but progressively get more challenging as you unlock more games. Eventually, it gets so hard that it can take multiple attempts before you even beat the level. There are three main types of rhythms in this game. The first type of rhythms are the keep the beat games. These games usually involve keeping the beat to a certain rhythm, with occasional variety depending on the cue. For example, Monkey Watch is a game where you are a monkey and you have to high-five other monkeys on a watch. The variations come in with the purple monkeys. Instead of hitting on the beat, you hit on the off beats. It's not much, but it can get challenging in some of the other Keep the Beat games. The second type is the call and response games. The way these games work is very simple. Somebody or something will play a rhythm, and you'll have to repeat it. Tambourine is a perfect example of this. In Tambourine, a monkey will play a rhythm, and you'll have to repeat it. Why does this game love monkeys so much? I don't know. Anyway, the final type, and the one that most games use, is the press the button games. After a specific visual or audio cue, you'll have to press a button. They can be simple, but sometimes the cues get really weird. For example, Hole in One is a game where there's a golfer and two monkeys giving you golf balls. Okay, there's more monkeys. When the monkeys make a swinging motion, as if they're throwing the golf ball towards you, you have to hit it. The mandrill will have a different cue than the regular monkey. It can get hard to time the cues, but for the most part, it's relatively manageable. Even though there are only 3 main game types, there's still a surprising amount of variety in them. Each situation the characters are in are all different. For example, one game involves a flexing wrestler, another game involves cheerleaders in a library, another game involves monkeys throwing golf balls to a golfer. It's all very charming, and that's how I feel about this whole game. It's very charming while also staying challenging, but not as challenging as other rhythm games. Now, while I could talk about all my favorite games in the collection, because believe me, there are a lot of good ones, I think it's better to talk about my least favorite game. Let's talk about Love Rap. This game involves 3 rappers, one sitting on a car and 2 standing next to each other. It's a call and response game where the rapper on the car says something and the rappers next to each other have to respond accordingly by pressing a button, of course. The hardest part is the rhythm. The rhythms are so unbelievably complicated, it's kind of annoying. Instead of explaining it, I think it's better if I just show you.
Into you. Into you. Into you. All about 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 you. Bo show. 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 All about you. All about you. Bo show. Bo show. Bo show. Bo show. Bo show. Bo show. Crazy into you. Crazy into you.
Now, doesn't that look hard? What's even worse is that the game appears again, but they made it even harder. The amount of attempts it took me to even beat the game were way too many to count. Other than that, I like most of these other games. Overall, Rhythm Heaven Fever is a game that has so much charm and variety. It's really a wonder to me that people don't really play this game anymore, at least online. It's a lot of fun and has a lot of replayability, especially in the endless games and the other things I didn't mention, like the Rhythm toys or special games from previous Rhythm Heaven titles. I hope that Nintendo makes a new Rhythm Heaven for the Switch. It's been almost 10 years since the final Rhythm Heaven game was released on the Nintendo 3DS. The fans are begging for more. Please, Nintendo, make a new game. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked my ramblings, then give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more. I plan on uploading every 1 to 2 weeks depending on how long videos take. So with all that being said, I'll see you in the next one.